Likutei Halachot 110. V'zeh bechinat lebishat begadim. This is the aspect also of getting dressed, wearing clothes. This whole idea that we've been saying till now. It also has its meaning rooted into how we dress. Shetzarich le'echoz hamalbush betzad yamin, because you have to grab the garment with your right hand. Ul-olam yagbir hayamin al hasimol, and thereby the right is overpowering the left, like it says in the Magen Avraham on the Shulchan Aruch over there. Now, besides getting dressed, that you put your right sleeve in, this is saying yet another idea that's also brought in by the Arizal, that you want to also grab the garment with your right hand. And then you give it to the left, and then you dress the right. Just like the Netilah cup, Netilat Yadayim. You grab it with the right hand, because that already gives dominancy, dominion over to the right, which is chesed. Then you pass it to the left so that the left can then start to wash the hand on the right. So that's the same thing with the clothing. But either way, even getting dressed with the right sleeve and the right shoe and all this that we learned in the Shulchan Aruch, that's why this is coming now here to explain all that this also has the idea of what we were saying. Ki ha'ikar talui bebechinat yamin. Everything's dependent on the right. Dehainu al yedei shemateh klape chesed. Like we said before, that the right side, which is chesed and leaning towards the right, which is Avraham Avinu and chesed and the Kohen and all this. So now we're explaining that even when you get dressed and you give dominion over the right, onto the right, it's this idea of the chesed, and that is going to be strengthened. So that's what this is coming to include and to add into this whole learning, that even how we dress is now modeling this whole thing that we talk about. Which again, leaning towards the chesed and the right, is done, which means we're finding the good parts in ourselves and in others. That's what it means. We're leaning towards the chesed, that we are good, we're good people, we do good. But then you have to use that, of course, to continue to do good. From this, you'll wake up from your spiritual slumber, kana, like we said. And this is done also to clothe our neshama. It's not just to clothe our bodies, it's to clothe our neshama, which is also unclothed. Shahaita aruma adashav. Kol zeman shalon itgala hatov be'et sheya b'china shena. All the time that you didn't see the good points and you were sleeping, so to speak, the neshama was bare or unclothed, and now thinking of the good points is in a way clothing the neshama, because we're leaning towards the right. And of course, when we actually do get dressed, we do it with the right first. And one can say, when it says in the Shulchan Aruch, Yitgaber ka'ari, you have to be strong like a lion. This could also mean, like it said, Yagbir hayamin al hasemol, making the right to be dominating over the left. Again, Yagbir like Givura. Now, make no mistake, we know the Ari or the Aryeh, the lion, usually represents Givura, which is the left side, not the right side. In fact, we say Yitgaber is the word Givura. So why are we saying that it has to do with the right side if the Ari is the left, because he's the strong animal, so it's like the left side, and even the word Givura. So really, in one aspect, the lion is from the left, but he's also an aspect of the right. And how's that? Because Yehuda, who is the lion, that's his animal that represents him, he is known to be on the right side, Yehuda, because you have Mashiach ben David, who comes from Yehuda, which is the right, and then you have Mashiach ben Yosef, who's from the left, and he fights the evil Yosef, so it's more of the left. And then Yehuda is on the right. So Yehuda, who is represented by the lion, is on the right. So you could look at the Shulchan Aruch as saying we have to mitgaber ke'ari, meaning mitgaber, the right side. Let the right side be stronger than, of course, the left side. So you can work that in here. Even though it says the word yitgaber, it just means to overpower the side of givura. Vezehu bechinat birkat malbish arumim, that Hashem clothes those who are unclothed. Shemevarachin b'shachrit, that we say in shachrit, in the Birchot HaShachar, one of the Berachot. Kamuva, like it's brought. Ki al yidei nikudot tovot shenitgalin, shehem bechinat Yisrael asher becha et pa'ar. It says in Yeshayahu that Hashem says, in you, Israel, I glorify myself, and I take pride in you, Israel. And it's al yedei the nikudot tovot, on these, because we find the good points in ourselves and we lean everything towards the right. This is what Hashem is taking glory in, because in that way we're fixing ourselves, we're fixing the world, we're bringing all the good out, and all these ideas. Ki behem et poer Hashem itbarach, Hashem is glorified with this. Kevayachol kanal al yidei ze na'asin levushin, and from this clothing is made. Bechinat bigdei pe'er bigdei kavod, clothing of glory and clothing of honor. Now, why do we associate the word pe'er and kavod with clothing? Because the Kohen Gadol, he would wear, even a regular Kohen actually, they would wear clothes that said lechavod ul tifaret, those two words in Parashat Tetzaveh, talking about the clothing of the Kohanim. So you see, clothing and pe'er go together, and we just said that malbish arumim is the clothing, and the word Yisrael asher becha et pa'ar. So it's just showing the connection between finding the good points and clothing ourselves, and this becomes now the pe'er of that Hashem takes pride in. And we know pe'er is also the tefillin, like it says, pe'ercha chavosh alecha. Our pe'er we should put on. Of course, it was said to the Navi in a special circumstance, and we see it's called pe'er, and that's why it says next, v'zeh bechinat tzitzit utfilin, the clothing that we're talking about, shehem bechinat levushin de nishmata, it's the clothing of the neshama, because we said the neshama also gets clothing, and that's the tzitzit and tefillin. It's actually called a malbush, a clothing. Even though the talit is on us, it's a clothing, it's also a clothing for the neshama, and the tefillin also. As it says in the pasuk in Shemot, in Mishpatim, ki hi chesuto lebada, this is your covering alone, hi simlato le'oro, this is again the covering of your skin, of his skin. And the Zohar explains, da tzitzit utfilin. When it said first the covering, it talked about tzitzit, and then simlato, clothing again, is the tefillin. So it does show that in the pasuk where it talked about covering, it was really also talking about the tzitzit and the tefillin in a spiritual manner, a spiritual clothing for the neshama. Shehem na'asin me'nikudot tovot shemitbarerin balayla bebchina hanal kamuvan basefarim. That this is made, it means the light really of the tzitzit and the tefillin that clothes the neshama. The light of it clothes the neshama. It's from, again, the nikudot tovot that we find and that Hashem finds at night. Like we said, he's borer, mitbarer. At night, the Shekhinah, he's also making a birur and finding the good sparks. This is also what's helping for in the morning to get the light from the tzitzit and tefillin to be wrapped around us and around our neshama. And when it says balayla, that this is done at night, the extracting of the good, it's also referring to that when we in our night of our lives, which means the down points of our lives, which is like night, when we find the good in that moment of despair, and we then bring ourselves back up and we think of the good that we have, this is also what brings out the light that is now going to wrap around us in the morning with the tzitzit and the tefillin. So there's always two things going on with these halachot. There's the real halacha, which is from the Shulchan Aruch, which means you have to literally put your right sleeve and right foot on first to make the right stronger. But then Likutei halachot is coming to tell you that it means in another aspect that your attitude, when you have an attitude of going towards the right, which means you look at the good points of yourself, which is the chesed and all of the right, that is going to strengthen the side of good. So there's always the two aspects. There's the halacha, which is doing, and then there's the mental exercise, if you want to say, of how we're supposed to think of life and think of ourselves. That's more of Likutei halachot's take on the Shulchan Aruch. Nimsa she'ikar bechinat livushin, bechinat bigdei pe'er, kelilayot hagevanin. Which means we find that the main aspect of the clothes, which we said is the clothes of pe'er, of glory, of splendor, of beauty, really is inclusive or includes the givanin, all the colors. Like we said, everyone has a color and has a flavor, and that's like the good points. Na'asin mebechinat hanikudot tovot shemitbarin is made from the good points that was extracted out. Shehem bechinat kelaliyut hagivanin, which is again the idea of all the encompassing colors. Valken tzirichin lehagbir hayamin b'shat levisha. That's why we have to empower the right at the time of getting dressed, either dressed physically or dressed spiritually again. Ki kol ze nemshach mebechinat yamin. All this is coming from the side of the right. Al yidei shemateh klape chesed. Because again, we're leaning towards chesed. Shal yidei ze motze nekudot tovot, that you're finding the good points. Val yidei ze na'asin levushin. And from this, we're able to now make the garments. Now the colors have to do with, again, pe'er, the clothing of the Kohen Gadol. He had the breastplate with all the stones, and it was the colors of the stones. So it also showed that. And it was each tribe. So each tribe is a color. That's why, again, we said each person comes from a tribe, and each tribe is a color. And that's his own unique good points that a person has, which is from his tribe. And everyone has their color, and it's all inclusive in Hashem's oneness, like we said. So you see the Kohen had a garment of color. That's the point. It's a garment of color. And you can even say Yosef HaTzadik, he had a ketonet, pasim. They say his ketonet was also something of the same type of word that they used in the Beit HaMikdash. Ketonet, which was the shirt, it was similar in that sense. Like he had that shirt, a shirt of being like a Kohen in a way. And it was a colorful shirt, pasim. Also had a little thing extra on the palm that they say, but it was a colorful shirt. So again, you see the idea of a ketonet and color, just like the Kohanim had colors, or at least the Kohen Gadol had colors on some of his clothing, not necessarily the ketonet, but again, just to play around with the words. So that's the idea here, is empowering the right by how we get dressed physically and spiritually.